Hey, Cascade Hoops Talk. Are you still in bed? Did you stay up all night watching the election? Get out of bed. The real world is coming, and we're going to talk NAIA basketball. This is Billy D. Cascade Hoops Talk starts right now. Hey, Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. We're going to have Ryan Arrowood. He's the head men's basketball coach at Rio Grande, the RedStorm. We talked this weekend after they had that big win, decided we needed to get him on, talk about the win, talk about the Rio Grande RedStorm program, and also about the university at Rio Grande. And so you're going to hear that interview as soon as we go through the scores. I think you're really going to enjoy listening to Coach Arrowood. And anyway, I enjoyed talking to him. I think you're going to enjoy listening to it. So why don't we go ahead and we're going to go through the top 25 games from the last couple of days. Also, as you see, I'm trying a score scroll at the bottom of the screen. So if you like it, let me know. If you hate it, let me know. Hey, let's start with number 3, Indiana Wesleyan in action tonight at home there in Lucky Arena. They defeated Olivet Nazarene. Always a great game. Nick Berkey, Greg Tonigal, two great coaches. But Indiana Wesleyan definitely got the better of them tonight, 108-67. Cademan Bontrager, he's playing like he wants to be player of the year. Right now, he's playing very, very well. 30 points, 6 rebounds. Mr. Steady Eddie, Griffin Cleaver, 15 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. The Wildcats are looking good. They're 3-0, and they're going to play Mid-American Nazarene on Friday. Yeah, and they're going to Olathe. That'll be a good test. It's always hard to go in there. Okay, Oklahoma Wesleyan, they got beat last night by Texas Wesleyan. Now, granted, that is a tough trip to go to Texas Wesleyan. They got beat 73-63. Richard Amafule, he had 22 points, 12 rebounds. Vegas Evans for Texas Wesleyan, he had 13 points, 3 rebounds. You can't really say it's a horrible win. It's a tough road game. But I'm sure Coach Bostwick isn't happy with 3-2 this stage of the season. But I mean, that's where they're at. I tell you, the NAI up and down is super competitive, and you know if you're not on your game, you're going to lose. I don't care who you are. So Oklahoma Wesleyan has a little bit of time to regroup. They host Tabor College on November 16th, and as I say, they are now 3-2. So number 8, Grace, we just talked about them. They had to go up to Cornerstone last night, and they fell up in Grand Rapids, 87-78. Again, another hard place to go. I mean, Cornerstone is one of the most historic programs in the NAI. Coach Elders is an absolute legend, and they get to go up to Grand Rapids and play them. But again, it's a tough game, and, Cornerstone got them. Luke Rallinson, 23 points, 4 rebounds. Blake Stewart, 15 points, 5 rebounds off the bench. So Grace finds themselves in very unfamiliar territory. They are now 1-2, and it doesn't get any easier. They got to go up to Livonia, and they're going to play Madonna on Friday, and that is a unbelievably tough program as well. So the road's not going to get any easy for the Lancers. Number 13, LSU Shreveport. They hosted Nelson. That's was Sagu, remember. They beat them. LSU Shreveport beat them 83-80. Good win for LSU Shreveport. Tough loss for Nelson, but again, it's a road game. Road games are tough. So LSU Shreveport, they go to 2-1, and they will host Science and Arts on Friday. In this game, Taj Anderson, 17 points, 7 rebounds, and Tajay Hill, he had 15 points. So the Pilots will take on, as I said, Science and Arts on Friday. Number 15, the Red Raiders in Orange City. They went over to William Penn. They beat them 82-69. That is a big road win early in the season. Tough road trip. Big win for the Raiders. Look at the Van Kelsbeek boys. It's bad enough you got one Van Kalsbeek you got to deal with, but now there's two of them. And so Alex Van Kalsbeek, 27 points, 8 rebounds, and I'm assuming that's his brother, a freshman. They went to the same high school. I'm assuming it's his brother. 16 points, 5 rebounds. He outscored Alex the other day, and Alex was like, no, you ain't outscoring me again. So Northwestern now is 2-0, and they're going to host Viterbo on Friday. Baker University, they played 2 days ago, and they on November 4th. So what was that, Monday? And they beat St. Mary, beat them pretty good. Big win for Baker. They're 2-0. Ty Henry, he had 20 points, 6 rebounds. Ahmed Bakub, he had 19 points, 5 rebounds. So Baker, they're going to play at Kaiser on Friday. Another tough place to play. But Baker is really, really good, and it'll be interesting to see what they can do down there in Florida. Number 23, Nelson, we talked about that. They fell to LSU Shreveport, and they go to 1-1. And they're going to host Texas A&M at San Antonio on Friday. And number 24, Kansas Wesleyan, they played Manhattan Christian College last night. They beat them 70-62. I could not find a stat sheet, but Kansas Wesleyan now goes to 3-0, and then they're going to play Waldorf on Friday. Not Manhattan Christian, but they're going to play Waldorf on Friday. So that's the Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Whoa, hey, we're not going to start that yet. That's the top 25 action. Now we're going to take a listen to Coach Ryan Arrowood, the head men's basketball coach at Rio Grande. We're going to talk about the program. We're going to talk about his background and also the university there. This is his 5th year, and it looks like he's put together a pretty good team. So let's take a listen to Ryan Arrowood, head men's basketball coach at Rio Grande. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, I got Ryan Arrowood. He's the head men's basketball coach, Rio Grande RedStorm. Thanks, Coach, for being on. I appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, absolutely, my pleasure. And thanks so much what you do for small college basketball. So it's nice to get a Eastern Midwestern guy on the podcast here. So.
Hey, Coach, first thing we got to talk about, you over to Winona Lake. You fell to Bethel in the first game there on Friday. Very good program. Steve Draven does a great job there. And then you played the dreaded Grace Lancers in Winona Lake, and you beat them by 4.
Yeah, big time win for our program. But I don't even know if you should say it's a big time win for our program. I don't think there's any small college basketball program that if they go in there and can get a win, wouldn't say it's a big time win. And that's a testament to what coaches built there, and that they're so respected. They probably have, I told our guys over the last 4 or 5 years of NAIA basketball, this is probably the best culture. This is probably one of the best programs in all of NAIA. You're going to have to be on your best just to be on the floor with them. So much respect for them. I'm in my 5th year. We've never shied away from going on the road and taking on some big opponents.
Mm-hmm.
We played Indiana Wesleyan at Indiana Wesleyan last year and couldn't quite get that one. Lost to them by 5. Beat Shawnee State in my first year at Shawnee State, the year they won it all. But
yeah,
COVID year, and I don't think people realize how good they were that early in the year. But we've played. We've had a lot of big games, especially in the Crossroads. But we knew this was a big one, so probably the biggest regular season win in our program, probably in the last 30 years. So,
what were talk about the last few minutes of that game, because Grace's calling card is their poise and they're very, very tight. I can just imagine it would. Boy, that had to be really hard to hold them off at the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, you win those games with players. 2 years ago, I thought we had a really good team. We went into the national tournament. And just a very similar situation at William Penn. We had a great defensive game plan and really executed that well in the first half. But like any great team, they're going to adjust and they're going to make their run. And it was kind of similar. We're going into that media timeout. They made their run. They're up 5 or 6 points. And it's just about, the toughness plays, like who makes the toughness plays. And, we got a couple turnovers, we got a couple deflections, and there's not great coaching in that, right? We had players make big time plays, and then Trey Robertson and Eric Butler are just two really good guards that are really, really tough to keep out of the paint. And they can also facilitate. So we just kind of put the ball in those guys' hands and trusted the decisions, and really defended at a high level.
You were talking about the playoffs last year, and just talk about your conference. It's not when you start talking NAIA basketball, it's not the first conference people start talking about. Some great teams. I think about St. Mary of the Woods last year. They had to go into Northwestern and play in the first round at Northwestern. Yeah. It's a tall order. You were just talking before we started. I think you had to go into William Penn. But just talk about your conference.
So, I get on my soapbox sometimes because we're not a traditional conference, right? And we're smashed in this arc with the Crossroads, the WAC, and the Mid-South, right? So, you look at that and you're like, well, okay, those are some of the premier conferences in NAIA basketball from the history standpoint. But you look at our league, and we've never had a season since we all went to one division. We've never had a season that we did not advance. We had 2 teams advance to the round of 32. Point Park was leading Freed-Hardman at halftime, and then Freed-Hardman does what they do and went on a run and was able to win that game in the second half. 2 years prior to that, we beat Marion in the first round, and we're playing William Penn, who was a number 1 seed overall, number 3 team in the country, and we're up 10 at half. And like I said, it was a 5-point game, and we just couldn't finish that out. 3 years ago, IU Kokomo went into William Penn when they were the overall number 1 seed and beat them and went to the round of 16. West Virginia Tech has advanced a couple of times. Yeah. And West Virginia Tech went into Huntington last year and had a huge win on the road in Huntington. We just went into Grace. There's not a lot of teams going into big-time Crossroads teams and winning games. So I think our league is really, really good. I would love to see our league get off that 8 line because the number 1 team in our league has been an 8 seed, I think, all 4 years since we went to one division. We got to find a way to get on that 5 line, to get on that 6 line. And if we can do that, I think you'll see some teams in our league showing up in Kansas City. And I think wins like this are wins that hopefully can make the rest of the nation understand there's some quality basketball in the River States Conference.
Yeah, you got to. That's the thing. You got to get those big time wins. 2 things from last season that really highlight what you're talking about. St. Mary of the Woods. I mean, they just kept winning, and they just kept winning, and they just kept winning, and they weren't on anybody's radar. Nobody. I mean, it was unbelievable. And then in the American Midwest Conference, Central Baptist and Columbia were very, very good. Again, they weren't on anybody's radar. Central Baptist, I think, made the final 8, and Columbia, they took Indiana Wesleyan to overtime up in Lucky Arena. And these conferences, when I talked to the coaches in the American Midwest, I apologized to them. I said, I just completely missed you guys. I didn't see that coming. So, but it's so hard with 21 conferences. How do you break out? I think you just said it. You got to win those quality games on the road and get the coverage.
Yeah. And NAIA basketball, again, I think we're the best. March Madness Division I, there's nothing like that. That's the best tournament in the world, right? There's no tournament that's ran better than that. But all other levels of small college basketball, NAIA basketball does it the best. Right? We're no disrespect. We're better than NCAA Division II, the way we run our national tournament.
I agree.
We're better than Division III. And it's I talk to a lot of Division II coaches, and they're like, I don't understand why we can't do it like you guys do it. But it is really, really difficult to play a game on Friday versus typically an 8 or a 9 seed, and then turn around and play an overall number 1 seed. I think that's one of the hardest things to do in basketball. And, we sell our guys at the beginning of the year. It's about the daily process because all we want to do is get to Kansas City. Because if you can get to Kansas City, you're good enough to do it. You've proven that, right? But getting there is the most difficult thing you're going to do. Finding a way for us to get a little bit more respect. We got 3 teams in last year. I thought we were a 4-bid league, but we got 3 teams in, right? Shawnee State was the 3rd team in, and boom, they advanced to the round of 32. So, we had 2 teams in the round of 32. So, I think we just got to keep doing that. I think wins like we had over Grace was big. I think the wins, we're going to have some other big non-conference games that hopefully we can take care of.
I want to talk a little about this team you've assembled this year. You went out, you hit you brought in some transfers. You have, first let's talk about Trey Robinson, who's returning. Talk about him as a player.
Man, he is, what I want to say about him, he is the most emotionally intelligent and emotionally competitive player that I've ever coached in my career, and he is he's just such a good basketball player, and he makes everyone around him better. He makes coaches look better. Under 5'10", I stack him against anybody in America. And he just does all the winning things. And he's a classic NAIA basketball player, because if you just saw him walking on the street, you wouldn't think much about him. And then you put him in a pair of Kobe's on the basketball court, and he can just put fear in people's hearts. And he's just an alpha winner. Took his high school team to the Final Four, and he's as competitive a kid as I've coached. And he's done a lot of winning stuff for us here. We are very blessed. He's a throwback kid, right? If he wanted to leave and transfer to a technically higher program or give a shot at D1, he probably could. Mm-hmm. He's rooted his feet in with us and gotten better every year. And so he's a little bit of a throwback, and we're really, really blessed to have him, and just such a leader in our locker room.
Up in Winona Lake, he struggled with the three. He's a 40-plus three-point shooter.
Yeah.
I imagine that'll come around.
Yeah. I mean, it's early in the season. He's got to get those legs, got to get his legs underneath of him. But, his ability to make shots from all levels, his ability to find the right player. He's got an elite mid-range pull-up. He can finish at the rim, and his three balls big time. But it's just his confidence. He didn't shoot you're right, he didn't shoot the three ball well. But we're down 4 with about 2 minutes to go, and they just made one little mistake on a ball screen, and he hits a three from NBA range to cut it to 1. Like, you can't teach that type of confidence to be able to take that shot. And everybody, as soon as he left his hand, our entire bench stood up, because everybody in the gym knew it was in.
Eric Butler, he's a transfer. He started his career over at Southern Illinois, so he's got some game in him. Played, I think, 2 years at Elizabeth City. That's a D2 program. I think he started both years there. Very, very skilled player. Talk about him.
Yeah, we tried to get him. He was teammates with one of my former players at Southern Illinois, so we tried to get him originally, but he chose to go there. And they went through a coaching change, and he didn't really, even before he necessarily went in the portal, he called me and said, "Coach, I think I'm going to go in the portal. Like, I wanted you to be my first call." Didn't even visit campus or anything like that. He was like, "I know I probably should have came the first time." So we were really fortunate to get him. Alpha competitor. I was an offensive lineman in high school. In the day and age of college basketball, I think you've got to have as a coach, kind of an offensive lineman mindset, right? You got to be heavy, but you got to be really light on your feet and be ready to adapt and move. And we're just very, very fortunate to have Eric. He's such a competitor, made some really big plays, big time shot maker, was elected as a captain from his teammates, and he's only been on campus for a month and a half. So I think that says a little bit about his character and his work ethic.
Yeah, those 6'4", I've talked to a lot of coaches about this, 6'4", 6'5" guys, strong like that. They just seem to, I call them prototype NAIA players. I mean, you look at every roster, they're packed with them, and if the team's competitive, they've got 1 or 2 of them that can score the ball and rebound the ball. They're some of the best rebounders in the country are the 6'5" guys, those mid-sized guys.
Yeah, I mean, our 3 best rebounders on our team are Eric Butler, Jalen Fox off the bench, who's a 6'5" athlete, and Jalen Johnson, who's a 6'5" wing. Like, those guys are the best rebounders, probably, have the potential to be our best defenders. That's today's college basketball. You have to have those interchangeable pieces. And you look at all the good teams across the country, they have not just one of those guys. They got multiple guys on their roster. So, when we've had success, we've had multiple interchangeable, guys with some length. I think this group could be special in that regard.
Switch a little bit and talk about this freshman that you have, Branson Copus. Is that how you say his name?
Branson Copus. His dad. His dad. There's a lot of people that remember his dad.
You're taking my story from me.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Let me don't let me ruin that. But
no, you're right. Now I'm really talking over you, and I apologize. I just think it's funny. He broke the scoring record at North Adams, and then who held the record?
His dad, Nathan Kopus, who was a first-team All-American at Rio Grande and was the point guard on our only Final Four team. Obviously, we were NAIA Division II at that time, but he was an absolute stud. He's the last first-team All-American we've had in our program. Probably one of the top, 6, 7 players ever play at the university. He was his high school coach. He's not your typical freshman, and we recruited Branson pretty hard. We weren't sure if we were going to get him, but he's one of those kids you're just really, really fortunate to have today's day and age. Like I hope I get to coach him 4 years, but he's not your typical freshman. He can step right in and contribute right away.
Yeah, he played some serious minutes for you so far. Averaged what, 20? No, he's played 15 minutes a game, right? But he's a true freshman, right?
Yeah, and and he's like most true freshmen. He came in and got his butt kicked. But where he's special, and I think that's a testament to his dad. And the last player that we had who handled it like him was Trey Robertson. Trey came in and just got his butt kicked on defense, but he worked harder than anybody.
Yeah.
Like just worked his guts out. Branson's done the same thing. So he played really well versus Bethel when we were really struggling. So very physical game versus Grace. So we just trusted him with some big minutes. And kid's not scared of anything. He's tough. He's a competitor. He's just a winner. He'll make a great basketball coach one day. Tremendous person on and off the court. So yeah, he's, we're trying to blend this thing, right? We're trying to get quality young men who want to win, who want to be in our program. And then we've also got to splice it with some kids that, want a different scene, want a different role maybe. But we got to make sure everybody cares about winning. That's the number one thing, and Branson definitely does.
Well, I didn't mean to step all over your story there. I was really intrigued by his background and his dad's when I read it. You were talking about coming in, getting their butt kicked. That's one thing high school kids just do not understand. They do not understand that transition from whatever level of college, high school to college. It is just talk about what that step is like for guys.
Well, it's just the process of playing against boys and then playing against men, and that's part of the every year I've been here, we started the season typically very early in the season. We're really going to test ourselves versus somebody that we think could be an Elite 8 level team. And we want to do that every single year because it's really good for guys to understand what that is. And most of the good teams have 22, 23, nowadays 24-year-old men. It's just there's a physicality, there's a first step, there's a ability to play low and strong that until you're going against it, you don't understand it. And the bright note for Branson is he's had to go against some guys every day in practice who are like that. So it kicked his butt a little bit, but he didn't blink. We've got another freshman, Kyan Irvin, who's not got as many minutes, but he's kind of in a similar boat. He's struggling sometimes with his confidence, but he's smart enough to realize I'm playing better basketball than I've ever played in my entire life. Like I feel like I'm playing the worst basketball, but I'm better than I've ever been in my entire life. I think you got to get lucky, and some of those kids have to have really strong emotional intelligence. I think that comes from their parents. We definitely like to try to find freshmen who are okay to fight through that struggle so that they can start to have some success.
You got a pair of Jalen's I want to ask you about, Jalen Johnson and Jalen Fox. Johnson, he played 2 years at D2 Glenville. He put up some good numbers there. And Jalen Fox, he played at Kalamazoo JC. They're key parts of this machine you've put together.
Absolutely. Jalen Johnson's a kid. He's from West Virginia and Fairmont, and he so well coached his high school program. His first 2 years, he was a role player because he had, Jalen Bridges, who's now in the NBA, and a couple other guys on that team. And then he was the man the last couple years. And he actually, he hurt his knee going into his freshman year, so he had to redshirt. But he went to Fairmont State because he was recruited there by a young head coach who actually left to take a job by the name of Joe Mazzulla. Turned out to be a pretty good coach. So then transferred to Glenville State and started there for a couple years, and then just wanted a little bit different role change. And we're wanting him to be a little bit more of that junior senior in high school, of him stepping up and taking a little bit more of a big role. Phenomenal kid, extremely hard worker, really shoots the three well. I thought it was really good for us to play Grayson Bethel, because that's the worst he's played for us was this weekend probably. And there was just a physicality that kind of caught him a little bit off guard. But probably had his best practice of the year yesterday, right? So we're expecting big things from him. We think he can be maybe the best two-way player in our league when it's all said and done. And then Jalen Fox, just freak athlete, extremely coachable. Got to teach him some details, but man, does he make some plays you just can't teach. And just a great teammate, not selfish whatsoever. We got to get him guarding the basketball better, but off the ball is probably our best defender. And he made some huge plays versus Grace, especially in that second half.
I want to ask you about the university. I tried to read up on it, and it confused me. It's called a public-private institution. Talk about Rio Grande.
Yeah, so we're in the heart of Appalachia, right? And we're nestled right along the Ohio River, and they call it the tri-state, right? Because you're nestled right there between West Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio. And beautiful, beautiful part of Appalachia. If you've ever eaten at a Bob Evans restaurant, the original farm is adjacent to our school, right? So
that's so cool.
Yeah, so and we're not like a lot of private universities where it was kind of started, and the town is really, it's all Rio Grande, right? Like it's all the university, it's not like there's a town and then there's a university, because the university is kind of the hub of it all.
Really? Okay.
We do have a community college built in within our private university, which is unlike any other school in the country.
Yeah, I saw that.
And a lot of that is because it's a great, we just have a lot of 2-year programs, and it's very, very affordable place to come get, an associate's degree. And then we don't have a ton of community college or trade schools near that part of Appalachia, right? We're nestled right between Ohio University and Marshall University. It was founded, and it's a great avenue for a lot of local people to commute and get a lot of 2-year degree. But now we've really grown the athletic department. And over the last 5 years, behind the leadership of President Smith and our athletic director, Jeff Lanham, we have seen dramatic growth within our athletic program. We are starting football next year, which is going to add to more growth. And if I do my job, you're going to continue to hear about Rio Grande, because some of these transfers we got directly because of the investment that our CFO, Megan Fraley, our president, Ryan Smith, and our board have done for athletics. We just built a brand new apartment style dorm that we didn't have before. You're going to have that if you're going to get some of these guys, right? We did a $10 million overhaul of our student center. We are obviously adding football, so we're building a brand new fitness center. We went in this year, completely redid our gym floor, and we've made additions to our locker room. So there's just a ton of investments being made directly into athletics and our campus, and our campus is vibrant. It feels very much so like it was when I was a student there, when it was booming a little bit there in the early 2000s. And that's a direct reflection to our leadership. So it's a school and a program that, from an athletic standpoint, we just continue to grow. We are invested with NAIA, right? We're like a lot of NAIA programs. D2 is calling us because we're the geographical footprint for a lot of them. But we're invested with NAIA. Basketball, the name Bevo Francis is synonymous with only Rio Grande, right? So basketball is a big deal. So it's I take that very seriously, but we're so excited about the future of our campus. And President Smith, he was a former Speaker of the House in the state of Ohio, and so he comes with such a connection and a knowledge, and he's been so great for our university.
Yeah, you can't put a value on those connections. I tell you, I know that. I want to.
We see a lot of schools like ours, unfortunately. You see all these tweets, whether it's a Division III, a Division II, an NAI, and you're seeing them close doors, or you're seeing them like cut budgets like crazy. And because of our leadership, we're in a better spot than we've probably ever been. So
That's pretty exciting, not only for you, but for the institution. And the
Yeah, and the
leadership
entire
is key.
community. Yeah,
The
yeah,
leadership is key. You got to have the
100%.
leadership. Last question I have for you is, you bring in some transfers this year. You're putting a team together. What are those 2 or 3 things you're looking for that say, okay, he's a RedStorm kind of guy. He's not going to be a problem. How do you judge that?
First, but we're like anybody, right? You've got to have the talent that we need,
Of
right?
course, of
Like, I
course.
mean, but are we going to be able to get some of the talent that other schools get? Like, I love where our program is headed, but we were just up at Grace, and guess what? If we have a kid on a visit at Grace and a kid on a visit at Rio Grande, it's gonna be tough for us to get that kid. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we understand that, but we have to find kids who have talent.
Sure.
But then the very next thing, and I made a huge mistake. I knew this as a coach. We built this the first 3 years, and then I just made a big mistake last year, and I recruited more talent than I did this next part. You're going to have competitive spirit, because we are not a city. We are not a destination university. If you don't love to compete every single day and you don't really love basketball, man, it's going to be tough for you to enjoy your time at Rio Grande. We want to have not happiness, but joy on a daily basis. And you can't find that if people don't like to compete. So we have to find talent, but then you've got to have a great competitive spirit. And if you want to find out how good you can be, now you may get really uncomfortable, but if you really want to push yourself to find out how good you can be, this is the perfect spot for you, because you're going to be surrounded by people that feel that same way. And we're coming in every day and we're working. So you just have to be so careful about who you're recruiting and who you're bringing in, because if they're not that way, it's just not going to work. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't make you a bad coach. But if they don't have those qualities, it's just not going to work. So whether that's a freshman, whether that's a transfer, whether that's a returner, we got to make sure that the main thing is the main thing there. And you want to be a student athlete, and you're really, really focused on that.
Coach, you've got Wilmington College coming in as we air this. It will be tonight. What do you want to say to fans? Tell them what to expect when they see your team when they come out tonight.
Well, I mean, if you watched us this weekend, you're probably thinking, which team's showing up? But what we saw Friday versus Bethel, we needed. I hadn't seen that in any practices. We hadn't seen that in our scrimmages. And we just absolutely got our tails kicked, and then we laid down. So we needed that. So hopefully you're going to see a team that's got some confidence but has some humility, that understands that. We told our team yesterday, there's a lot of teams around college basketball that think they're good enough to do what it takes to make a Sweet 16, to make it to Kansas City. You're one of the few teams that know you can do it. You can go into a place like Grace versus a team who's going to be a top 10 level team, and you can win. Not everybody knows that.
Yes.
So what do you do with that power, right? So hopefully what you're going to see is a team who's hungry, who's humble, and who's very, very talented, competes on both ends of the floor, and plays the game with a passion and a joy that I think people really enjoy watching. I love coaching this team every day. I like I said, I was very surprised we played the way we did Friday, but I was not surprised we played the way we did Saturday. So we like to play a little bit faster, like to get up and down a little bit. We're definitely going to defend, and hopefully you'll enjoy yourself in Newt Oliver Arena.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate your time. Congratulations on that big win. Now you have to build on it. But Ryan, thank you very much. It's been great to speak to you.
Thanks so much for all you do, brother.
Okay, that's Ryan Arrowood. He's the head men's basketball coach, Rio Grande, the RedStorm. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, thanks a lot to Coach Arrowood and to Rio Grande University for giving us that time. I really enjoyed that conversation. So a lot of games this week. It's really starting to heat up. I think we're getting pretty close to going back to daily. Look for us again tomorrow morning. Let me know if you like this scroll with the scores on it. I still haven't perfected it. And then it has a limit on the number of characters. I'm still trying to figure out how to work around that. And anyway, let me know what you think. Hey, thanks a lot to everybody who listens and the comments that come back. I really love NAIA basketball. I love sharing this adventure with you. And enjoy your day. Enjoy tomorrow and the next day. And don't forget to hug your kids. This is Billy D, Cascade Hoops Talk. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAIA school because NAIA basketball is the best entertainment value in America.